Okay. Okay. This is Samanavshi, yeshiva located in Yerushalayim Kodesh, and Beis Knesset Hanukkah Yeshivas on Rehov Zichron Yaakov number 6. We're here in the morning, starting out fresh, a new week, 9 o'clock. This is the first year. My name is Rabbi Shlomo Furst, and we're learning about Hanukkah, getting ready for Hanukkah now. We're focusing on what we need to do to appreciate and fulfill our mitzvahs of Hanukkah as best as possible. So basically, we've crystallized that we have three basic obligations on Hanukkah at this point. We have Hallel, and we have Al Hanisim, and we have Hadlakas Ner Hanukkah. Hadlakas Ner Hanukkah is lighting a menorah, that's for pursuing Nisa, and we'll be discussing more about that. We have Al Hanisim, which is Todah, thanks for what Hashem did. And we have Hallel, which is praise to Kadosh Baruch Hu. So in discussing more about Hallel, we want to learn the Gemara now, a line or two in the Gemara in Brachos, Daf Tes. Amid base, at the very bottom, about 3 lines from the bottom. After the Amr Rabbi Yehuda, Bereya the Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi. Good morning. Here we have more for you. Good morning. This is the Gemara in Daf Tes Amid base in Brachos. This is going to be helping us understand more about our obligation of saying Hallel on Hanukkah. Right? The more we understand about why and what we're saying, the better we'll be able to fulfill our obligation on Hanukkah itself. 3 lines from the bottom, we have here the Maimer starting with the Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Bereya the Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi. The Moshe, want to read that, please?
Okay.
Got it, Brian, in 3 lines? Yeah.
Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Bereya Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi.
That's
Kaf Gimel.
Kaf Gimel, that's 103.
103 Parshiyot. Amar David, V'lo Amar Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. We said it with it because it's hallelujah. It's really a combination of 2 words. Hallelujah, the praise, and Yud Hey is a shame of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So we say. So if you say it straight through, it's like a shame. It's praise to Hashem. So we usually, when we're reading it, we usually say Hallelujah. Right? If you're saying it in Tehillim or you're saying it in Trikul Zimra or something like that, you say it out with the Yud Hey. Usually, when we're learning, people are careful to say Hallelujah.
Okay. Shira'ah במתחילתם של רשעים, שנאמר, יחמו חטאים מן הארץ, יחדמו חטאים מן הארץ, רשעים עוד אינם ברכי נפשי, את השם הללוקה.
Okay, very good. Okay, so it says like this again. We have a mimer of Rabbi Yehuda Berebi, the son of Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, in the Gemara in Brachos Daf Tes Amid Beis at the very bottom. Kuf Gimel Parshas, David HaMelech said, Kuf Gimel Parshas, he made 103 Kapitlach Tilim, yeah. V'lo Amar Hallelujah, I didn't say the word Hallelujah, the praise to Hashem, Ad Shiroim HaBalson Shel Rishoim, until he saw the destruction, the downfall of the Rishoim. And it brings the pasuk, right? It says, "Tamu v'chatim min haaretz." They were destroyed off from those who were the sinners from the world. Rishoim and the Rishoim, Od Einam, they're no longer around. Baraki nafshi es Hashem Hallelujah. That's when David HaMelech praised Hashem, when he saw the destruction and the downfall of the evildoers and the Rishoim. And that was only after the 103rd. That was the 103rd Kapitel Tilim. So the question is, that's a long time to wait, right? He said a lot of Tehillim, Now, just the Agav, the more about Brasus mentions that David HaMelech did not offer all of the Tehillim. Al Pi Rov, many of the Tehillim were from David HaMelech, many of them were, right? But there were a minority segment of the Tehillim which were not said by David, but he was, when Anshe Knesset's girl formalized the Sefer Tehillim, they included other phrases to a Kadosh Baruch Hu from others that are written, Moshe Rabbeinu, Bnei Korah.
Adam Rishon.
Excuse me?
Adam Rishon.
Yeah, Adam Rishon as well, right? I think Mizmor Shir, Adam Shabbat is from Adam Rishon. Yeah, we have time. We can actually learn some of that more over there. It's very enlightening in terms of who wrote what, understanding this. But in Rov, the majority of the Tehillim were written by David HaMelech, and he didn't mention this lashon of Halukah, praise to Hashem, until the downfall of the Rishonim. So this has to do with what we've been discussing. If we want, let's take a look at the Maharsha. Maharsha, in his Chedushi Agados on this Gemara, poses a question which will be relevant to the discussion we've been having up till now. Again, just as we finding the place, should be there, yeah. Not so far, because there's other things. They have the after yeah. We've been basically questioning, trying to understand that on Hanukkah we say the Hallel for a full 8 days, a full Hallel. In contrast, on Shlish Pesach, and therefore Kol HaMoed as well, we only say a partial Hallel, we don't say a full Hallel. And the Mishnah Berurah brings, as quoted in the Medrash, it's the very last one. This Maharsha we're going to be going to is the very last one here in Daf Tes on the base. The print's a little small, and it should be in the right-hand column on the outside, right? About almost 2/3 of the way down the page, right? You all have it there. So again, just to restate the general topic we'll be discussing, Mishnah Berurah explains on Shlish Pesach we don't say a full Hallel, because the Medrash explains that the Baruch Hu said to the Movavi Sharis that it's improper to say Hallel while his Ma'asai Toivu B'Yam, the history of the dying drowned in the Yam, and it's improper that they should say a full Hallel. So since the Malachim didn't say a full Hallel at the time, we understand from that we're not supposed to say a full Hallel on Shlish Pesach. So Shlish Pesach, Yom Tov, we don't say a full Hallel. So Kol HaMoed, we also didn't say a full Hallel because it shouldn't be more important, so to speak, Kol HaMoed than Yom Tov itself. So on the first day of Pesach, we say the full Hallel, right? And not only that, we'll discuss more about this later on as we go on in the week. We met it on the night of Hallel. They minhag to say Hallel in the Beis Knesset as well. And at night, very rarely do we say Hallel at night. And we say not only Hallel in the Beis Knesset, we also repeat Hallel at the time of the Suda Leil Pesach, right? So there also we can ask the question, well, look, the Makas B'Kairos we experienced, and the Mitzvah were dying then as well, right? So we don't want to say it for Hallel. So we'll try and get to that question as well. But now you'll see what the Maharsha says, what we're discussing. Let's see. Armand, is that too small for you? Can you read that? Right. Everyone has the place. The downfall of the Rishonim. Okay, Mordecai, let me get you a big maybe I'll get
Turn the page,
I made a mistake. Turn the page.
Yeah, but my time. Thank you.
Yeah, this is gonna be bigger. Pass that one down to Mordecai.
We're good.
Forget it.
There you go.
I think I'm in the neighborhood.
Let's see, there's the spot. There we go.
Thank you.
There you go. When you get used to learning Gemara, you get used to reading small print. Right? Lahavdil, like the lawyers, they love the old small print too, right?
ומפתן של רשעים וכולי.
Yeah.
מכאן קשה למה שכתבו אחרים בשם המדרש שאין אומרים הלם ביום האחרון של פסח. From here it's hard to understand why the Achronim wrote in the name of the Medrash
Right?
that we don't say Hallel on the last day of Pesach. Mishum Shamar Kadosh Baruch Hu Maaseh Yadai Tovim Bayam, because Hashem said that my handiwork is being killed in the ocean. Ve'atem
Literally drowning
in the ocean.
Drowning in the ocean.
And you're saying Hallel. Sanhedrin Lametet Megillah. Varehacha Amru Behefech. But here it says the opposite. Delo Amar David Hallel Al Shera'a Befnatam. That David did not say Hallel until he saw they're being killed. Hashem said the downfall of the Derushan. Gam Beperek Bet the Archen, and also Bet the Archen. Omrim Tam Acher. They said a different reason. Del Kach Ein Omrim Hallel B'Yom Achron the Pesach. You don't say Hallel on the last day of Pesach. Mishum the En Chokim Bekarbanoteihem, because there's no difference in the korbanot.
Right. That's similar to the Tosus that we saw in in Tainus. Okay, we'll just review the Marshal.
We don't say Hallel in the Shvi Shel Pesach?
No.
Half Hallel.
He's talking about the full Hallel?
Yes.
Talking about full Hallel. Right. That's what we saw the Mishnah Berurah. Maybe we'll take out and look at it. Not today, maybe another time later this week. So again, the Gemara said that David HaMelech didn't say praises to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in his whole Sefer Tehillim until he got to the Mipalsim, the destruction and the downfall of the evildoers and the Rishoyim. Right? So from here, Mekan Kasha Lama Kasvar Achronim. From here, this Gemara, because it's a Mefurish Gemara, it's very difficult to argue on an open Gemara. From Mekan, it's difficult. Lama Kasvu HaAchronim B'Shem Medrash. What the Achronim said in the name of the Medrash, that what? That we don't, the Medrash says, Ein Omrim Hallel B'Yom Achron Shel Pesach. We do not say Hallel on the last day of Pesach, meaning a full Hallel. We do say Hallel, but we don't say a full Hallel. Mishum Sha'amar Kadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu said to the Malachi Ashoris, right? My Yadai, my creations, Toivin Biyam, are drowning in the Yam, in the sea. Va'atem Omrim Shir, and you, the Malachi Ashoris, want to say praise. It's not a complete situation here. It's a time of destruction, right? Even though there were enemies, there were Jewish enemies that were chasing after us the whole night before. They were throwing spears and arrows and artillery boulders at us, and it hadn't been for the Anani cover that separated between the Machane, the camp of the Jews, and the camp of the Egyptians, they would have done the worst to us. Even that was the night before. And finally, when the dawn came and this Moshe Rabbeinu was told by Kadosh Baruch Hu, move forward into the Yam, your prayers have been accepted, and that we in fact moved forward into the Yam, and it split for us, right? And the Mitzrayim chased after us, again, intent to do the worst. And they had a din of a roidef, and then we know the halach of a roidef. If a person's chasing after somebody to kill him, it's a mitzvah on anybody to kill the person who's chasing after somebody else to kill, right? So they had a din of redifin. They were redifin. They were people who intent to kill, chas v'sholom, to do the worst to the Klal Yisrael. And nevertheless, the Kadosh Baruch Hu came to our aid and brought the sea down upon them, and they were drowning in the Yam. So at that point, the Malachi Sharis wanted to sing Shir, and in fact, Klal Yisrael, whether it was in the Yam, was when we got out of the Yam, we actually said Shir. We actually said Shir, the Shir al Yam, right? So we had an opportunity to say it because they were our enemies and we saw their destruction. right? But the halacha is based on what the Maharsha is quoting here. We can't say a full halal, meaning at the time when we were there, we were able to say a full shira. It was the highest joy that we had to see our enemies destroyed in front of our eyes, right? To see the hashkacha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was meeting out to each and every mitzvah. Every Jew was said, the Chazal explained, every Jew got to see his personal mitzvah, get his personal punishments based on the personal tsar and punishments and distress and suffering that he had at the hands of that mitzvah. They were able to see the vengeance taken fully for each and every Egyptian that they came against us. So we were able to see and be joyful over that, to see our enemies fall, right? But nevertheless, the question is that the Maharsha is asking, you see David HaMelech, he felt the proper time to say a full praise to HaKadosh Baruch Hu was only after the time of the downfall of the Rishonim. So then why can't we say a full Hallel on Shvi Shel Pesach? We should be able to say a full Hallel on Shvi Shel Pesach. So therefore, the Maharsha continues, because he doesn't understand those that comment that we shouldn't be able to say a full Hallel. If David Melech felt that it was necessary and proper to say praise to Kadosh Baruch Hu after the downfall of the Rishonim, so that's David Melech. He's teaching the way. He's saying, when we say Hallel is composed of a lot of Tehillim, which is basically straight from David Melech. So he's teaching us how to do it. So why can't we follow him? Why should we only say and limit ourselves to only say a half Hallel? And this, again, we're contrasting this to Hanukkah. We started out with the basic question. The Greeks were dying too, right? So if the Greeks were dying too, right? So if for the fact that we don't say a full Hallel because our enemies are dying, right? So we don't say that on Shvi Shel Pesach. We shouldn't say that on Hanukkah either, right? So we answered what the Maharsha is coming to answer, basically, what we saw in that Tosus. The Hallel we say on Hanukkah is really for a different reason. It's not for the destruction of our enemies. It's really because the nace was misgadol. That's what Tosus says. Tosus says the nace was growing and growing and growing. So each day was like a separate new miracle, a proper day to say Hallel for. So that helps us understand what our obligation on Hanukkah is when we're saying Hallel. We're not necessarily saying Hallel for the, what we call the Nitzachim, the victory. We're saying Hallel on the nace of the Pach Shemen. Let's just finish up the words of the Maharsha again one more time. We see that David saying the opposite. The Lo Omer David Hallel Ad Shiro Apostle Shol Rishoyim. We see the opposite. That David said it, Hallel, praise to Hashem, at the time when the Rishonim were being destroyed and the downfall was imminent and actually took place. So therefore we must say another reason that we don't say Hallel on Yom Akron Shel Pesach is because there's no Chalukim B'B'Kur Moseihem, because that's as Tosus said exactly, also because there's a difference between, for example, Sukkot and Hanukkah, as the Tosus in Tainus Chav Ches explained to us, that Shvi Shel Pesach is like one continual holiday beginning from Yom Rishon and continues through Chol HaMoed, because the Korbanos are basically the same. Okay, so we see basically what we've been discussing is the Maharsha's question as he states here in Brachas Taftes Amid Beis. So based on this, we have to think a little bit further. The questions asked, the Tzitzi Eliezer will maybe spend more time with that tomorrow, that the Tzitzi Eliezer was of Waldenbach, that he was the Rav Rashi of Shaarei Tzedek Hospital for many years. And he has a sefer, his sefer, Tzitzi Eliezer, is Shayos V'Tubas. Also has some drushes, so he gave a drusha on Hanukkah, and he included this question, that the question is asked, we don't necessarily see that Hallel is said on a fulfillment of a mitzvah. We see Hallel is usually said on Hatzalah, right, of Nefashos. Right? For example, the question is asked by Purim. Why don't we say Hallel on Purim? Okay, why would we, what's the Havamina that we should say Hallel on Purim? Because we were saved, Hashem saved us, right? The answer, one of the answers given is that was a miracle of saving Klal Yisrael which took place in Chutz La'aretz. Okay, so we don't say Hallel on a miracle that took place in Chutz La'aretz. But okay, but we see that the reason that we wanted perhaps to say Hallel on Purim is because it was a Hatzalah, that we were saved, Hashem saved us through miracles, and He saved the Klal Yisrael, and therefore we have an obligation to praise Hashem for the fact that He saved us. Right? But what we're saying now, according to what the Morsha is saying, and what Tosus taught us about, right, Hanukkah, right, we're saying it not because of the Hatzalah, right, we're saying it not because of the Nitzachim, because of the victory, and the fact that Hashem saved us. We're saying it rather because of what? Because the nace of the Pak Shemin was increasing every day. So that's the question that Rav Waldenberg, and Tzitzi Eliezer brings down b'shem others that ask the question, hey, this is not the proper thing to say Hallel on. Every time there was a mitzvah of lighting the menorah, which the Hashmonaim, after they gained control of the Beis HaMikdash again, they ousted the Yevonim, and they came in, and we know they found the Pak Shemin, and it had enough Shemin to light for one night, and it lasted the whole 8 days, right? So on that, right, that's why we're saying Hallel. That was Tosas Mefurish. Tosas said clearly 100% we're saying Hallel, and a full Hallel on Hanukkah, 8 days full, because the nace was getting greater and greater and greater. But wait a second. Usually, as we said, we say Hallel because of the miracle of Hatzalah, that Hashem saved us. What was the whole point about saying Hallel on Shvi Shel Pesach? You can't say Hallel on Shvi Shel Pesach because at the same time Klal Yisrael was being saved, the Egyptians were being drowned, right? It wasn't on a mitzvah that we were given or a miracle. It was on the fact that we were saved. That was the Havamina to say Hallel by Purim. We were saved, right? We don't say it because we have a mitzvah of Shalach Monos, right?
Seems like almost by definition, if we're saved, that means enemies are dying.
Most likely. I mean, for example, we have another case. Rachmi, they asked this question about the Hapalson Shel Sosen Cheriv. That on it was Leil Pesach, right? Hiskiyahu Melech, right? The Sancheriv came and surrounded Yerushalayim, right? And the camp, they decided to wait one more, not to attack that day they arrived. They said, okay, a little bit tired, let's wait till tomorrow. And that was their big mistake. They waited till tomorrow. That night, right, they were all destroyed, completely, absolutely all destroyed. And the Yerushalmi uses that as one of its proof in a certain area of the discussion the Yerushalmi is talking about, uses that as a proof to say Hallel in certain circumstances, talking about Pesach Sheni, the difference between Pesach Sheni, Pesach Rishon.
Yeah, but he lost his being Mashiach because he didn't say it.
Okay, he didn't say it, but what do you see? That was your argument said, but he should have said it. That was only part of our question. You see that he lost because he should have said it, but hey, how can you say it? Okay, how can you say it? The enemies died.
Yeah, but we answered last week that his job was to say it, and Hashem was telling him not to say it. That's what we answered last week.
So right, you could say that, right? So he should have, but so
that was his job was to say, because he had to thank Hashem.
He was saved. Since he was saved,
that's right. He had to thank. It was the same thing Bnei Yisrael.
Right.
The Malachim couldn't say because they were in heaven, but the Bnei Yisrael did say it.
Right, and it was just like we said Shir at the Yam.
That's right.
Right. So we saw our enemies dying and dead. So we had a full right to say Shir, and in fact we did say Shir.
Right.
Right. Some didn't stop us from saying Shir. Right, but the Malach Yeshua, they were there in the spiritual world, and they're detached from it. Right, to say sure that to praise Hashem, right, that part of His creation is being destroyed. That's not appropriate. It's not appropriate. Right, but nevertheless, when it comes down to us, right, on Shvi Shel Pesach, we don't say Hallel, a full Hallel, because the enemy's dying. That's the reason that the Mishnah Berurah gives. Right? He quotes this medrash, and that's the reason it's given why we don't say Hallel right? But we should, in all due respect, we should be able to say, we said Shir that day, right? So why can't we say a full Halal, right? So that's why Tosfos comes along and gives a whole different explanation. It was because of the nace that was of the Pak Shem. It was growing and growing. One day it burned, another day it burned, the third day it burned, all the way to 8 days. Tremendous nace. But that leads us to the question. We don't really see Halal being said because of a mitzvah that was done. Right? Okay, so we'll go into that a little bit more. Right? I'm not sure I have time for that so much today. But we have to understand another point, which we'll also continue discussing tomorrow as well. Apparently, the war wasn't exactly over. Right? I think Rabbi Miller writes at length. That's all. Hanukkah. Yeah, by Purim, that was it. They had one day and another day, extra day in Shushan to fight over, kill the enemies, and the only ones that dared to fight against the Jews were those Amalekim, right? And they were eliminated, right? And no one else would have been fool enough to fight against the Jews, especially when Mordecai was now the Mishna Lamelech, and it's only those greatest Jew haters in the world stood up against us, and we had the opportunity. It was actually a beautiful opportunity to eliminate our worst enemies. Right? What turned out to be, Has Hashem, the worst thing could have happened to Klal Yisrael. It turned out to be the best opportunity to eliminate our enemies. Right? So when it comes to understanding like Hanukkah, so if the war in fact did continue, then what was significant about the actual lighting of the menorah, right? So I'll just mention briefly. We're going to learn this maybe inside. It's worthwhile to see the Bach. The Bach is a parish on Tur. Tur was a son of the Rosh, one of the major Rishonim on the commentaries, halakhic commentaries on the Gemara, and which are one of the 3 pillars of the Shulchan Aruch: the Rosh, the Rambam, and the Rif. And the Torah was the son of the Rosh, and from the Torah, the Beis Yosef and also the Moshe Islis wrote commentaries, and from that Torah came the Shulchan Aruch as we know it, right, as we have it today. So the Bach writes there that in the beginning of the situation of Hanukkah, we have to understand that there was a certain Torah, there was a certain strategy, a goal that the enemy had for Klal Yisrael, which is going to help us elevate our discussion in the following way. The menorah, the Beis Hamikdash, represented to our enemies the connection of Klal Yisrael with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Part of their goal, our enemy's goal, was to not just eliminate that connection by coming into the Beis Hamikdash, setting up idols, defiling all the pure things there, and stopping all the korbanos, not just to stop the connection and to break the connection, Has Hashem between Kadosh Baruch Hu, but also they wanted to prove that there was no connection. They wanted to prove that if Klal Yisrael is not going to do mitzvahs, and that's what the other thing they tried to do, they said,
But worse in the Monacan and the Greeks.
Yeah, we'll discuss some more. Very good, Israel. We'll discuss more of that as time goes on. If they could take Klal Yisrael away from mitzvahs, our enemies maintained that without mitzvahs, Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want to have a relationship with Klal Yisrael. So they wanted Shlomo. So they wanted to take mitzvahs away from us to show that if we're not doing mitzvahs, there's no relationship between Klal Yisrael and Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's not true. Kadosh Baruch Hu loves Klal Yisrael even if we're not doing mitzvahs, even if we have no mitzvahs.
Yeah, but if they're forcing you not to do the mitzvahs, this has nothing to do between you and God. It has to do with them and God.
Right. So they created a matzav of Shema. That they tried to, but many, in the situation of Shema, you have to give up your life. You have to fight for your life. That's what Ashmanoim did, right? Hardly anyone else did, except Ashmanoim, the 12 sons of Matisyahu and Eliezer.
That fought.
They actually stood up against them. There were those who were hiding and keeping mitzvahs secretly and things like this. There were, right? How many? What the exact numbers? I don't know. I'm not sure. But there were. They weren't alone. But in terms of their rebellion and the serious nefesh, they were basically alone. right? I'm not sure the history to tell you the truth exactly how much, and if they had aid from some others and how much it was. In fact, I don't know. Maybe as time goes on, we can determine that a little bit more accurately. But what they set out to prove our enemies was that if there's no mitzvahs, kiyum of mitzvahs, there's no relationship between a Kadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. And that's not true. Even if we don't keep mitzvahs, meaning we must keep mitzvahs, no doubt about it, but even if we don't keep mitzvahs, we still have a relationship. We're still budding atem l'Hashem Elokechem. We are the sons of Kadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem looks at us as son. Even a son is not going to be respectful. He's not going to be proper in terms of what the father wants and requests of him. He's still a son. He never loses the status of a son. Right? And they also understood that the korban tamid that was offered in the morning and in the evening, and also the ner tamid, which was lit at night and through the day, that represented, right, Rashi says that several times in Chumash, the ner tamid was a gilui or revelation, a siman that a Kadosh Baruch Hu was reconciled with Klal Yisrael after the Chet Egel. Meaning, once there was a Beis Hamikdash, once Aaron Kohen lit the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash, and the Rashi says this in Chumash, that's Edis Yisrael. That was Edis for Klal Yisrael, testimony for Klal Yisrael that a Kadosh Baruch Hu was reconciled with Klal Yisrael, and the relationship between Klal Yisrael and the Kadosh Baruch Hu was more or less as it was before the Chet Egel. Right? But they wanted to do away with the korban, especially the korban tamid, and also with the lighting of the menorah, because they wanted to show that connection was lost. And by the Hashmonaim coming back and renewing the Mizbeach and lighting the menorah and renewing the Avod in the Beis Mikdash, they proved, right, Hashem allowed them with their victory to prove that the enemy was wrong in their strategy, that they thought that there was no relationship with Klal Yisrael if there was no fulfillment of mitzvahs. So we're going to see more or less about this tomorrow, Blinetta, with the Bach. We'll see the Bach inside and see a little bit more about this. Okay, well, now we're in Mishna Berurah, Mitzvah Shem.